James Lutton, delighted to be joined today on Zoom with Roman Fury. Roman, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Obviously, a very recognisable surname there. Just talk to us a little bit about the family name.
It's a very recognizable name, like you say, in boxing. Um, Tyson and Tommy, and all the rest of them who've had a go. Cousins as well. So I'm trying to be the next one to make a bit of a name for myself in the boxing scene. So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, brother to Tyson and Tommy Fury. Do you feel any pressure on your shoulders carrying the name?
not really. As I've always said, I'm just going to do the best that I can do. And just see where it takes me in my own time. Really, I'm not trying to be like anybody else. I'm just trying to be myself in the sport, and wherever it takes me, it takes me. But I'm just excited to be doing this now, and giving it a go because I've always wanted to do it. So yeah, very very happy.
Talk to me a bit about, let's go back to your childhood growing up, obviously around your brothers. Boxing has always been a big part of your family life. Obviously, John Fury, pro boxer himself. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like to grow up a part of the Fury family.
Yeah, like you say, boxing is always a part of it from being a young boy, whether it's messing about with your brothers or, hitting the pads with your dad, just, to kill a bit of time for a bit of fun. So it's always something that I've been doing, that I've always been around. So it's not just like I've, put on a pair of gloves yesterday or last week, last month and decided I want to be a pro boxer. It's something that I grew up in, that I know about, and I know exactly what I want to do from it. Um, but yeah, like you say, it's a fighting family, so I've always been around it.
Now, boxing wasn't always going to be the career path for yourself, something that's pretty recent for you. I believe you was a successful rugby player before lockdown. Obviously, COVID happens, and then all of a sudden you laced up the gloves and took it seriously. Um, Talk to me a bit about beforehand. Why was it never, you've got no amateur background. Why did you never go into amateur boxing?
Well, like you say, I was a rugby player up until I was like 15, and then I lost interest in it, and things like my life started slipping like a bit out of hand. I started gaining loads of weight. I lost motivation and became, very lazy. Um, so I went like a few years off the rails, and then COVID happened, and I had no work on because I was doing a bit of landscape gardening and stuff like that. But there was nothing on for me. So my brother said, Tommy, he said, come down and train with me and my dad, and Tyson and all that. So I went down week after week. I just stuck to it. I started losing weight and I started loving it. It got to a point where if I wasn't doing it almost every day, I got like depressed or down because I felt like I had to do it because it had just become part of my life. So I thought, oh, I'm doing all this training and I'm loving it. So why not take it to the next stage, and compete and have fights? So that's what I've been doing with me and my manager Jimmy Arrington. And yeah, got my first fight next week on the 8th of October at Doncaster Racecourse. So all happy.
Absolutely. You mentioned there, obviously, you put on a bit of weight, you got a bit depressed, you went off the rails a little bit. And it's well documented. The same happened to Tyson. How much of an inspiration do you take from your brother in his recovery from all of these demons?
Yeah, a lot, and a lot of other people around the world have as well. That's very well noted. But to see him come through it, and he probably went through things on a worse scale to me. I have my own problems as well, but it just goes to show if you can get through it, then I can get through it, and a lot of other people can get through it as well. But it's just a case of realizing that your mind is a very powerful tool, and if you put your mind to a lot of things, you can overcome it. So it's just a case of training it and growing as a person every day, and that's what I did. I was lying in bed, 20 stone, I was having breathing problems and all that, and I thought, I want to change now, otherwise, how much longer I'm going to be here because I was eating terribly, no exercise, I wasn't seeing daylight. And yeah, it's not a thing that you just click your fingers and the next day it turns out and everything's perfect. No, I fell off the horse a couple of times. You got to keep getting back on and giving it a go, and then eventually something clicks, and you become a new person like I've done.
You mentioned, obviously,
Well,
say again, sorry.
like Tyson did as well. He fell off a couple of times, stuck at it. Everyone doubted him, and now look, WBC champion again.
Absolutely. You mentioned Tommy was the one who told you, come down the gym. How long was you in the gym before you clicked and thought, this is for me, this is what I want to do now?
The only thing I was doing was, bits of running to try and get the weight off. And then it kind of went from 0 to 100. Obviously the first couple of sessions were going to be killer hard. And I wanted to give up. but kind of I didn't because I was really enjoying it as well. You know, it was a new challenge in my life. And yeah, since from that, I just hit it full steam ahead. And I've been constantly training now for 2 years, learning as much as possible, and I can't wait to get in the ring now.
Talk to me a little bit about learning in the gym, sparring, things like that, because obviously you've had no amateur background. You've admittedly yourself as well, come out in another interview, said you've not done an awful lot of sparring, thrown into deep ends, to put it lightly there, really. Talk a bit about sparring. Obviously, you've been training with Tommy and in the gym around Tyson and superstars, really. Who have you been sparring? Who have you been training with? And who have you learnt the most from?
Yeah, lots of different people. You know, I've done sparring with my brothers and stuff like that. I go to Jimmy's gym in Doncaster, spar with a couple of lads up there. You know, Brad Cousins, Jamie Mellors, and the lads from down there. And then for this camp as well, I've been going up to Leeds at Nick Manners' gym, sparring with Mally Wright, who's you know, who was a very good amateur, and he's had a good pro record as well. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at the best sparring. I don't want no, you know, people I'm not going to learn from. I want the tough sparring, you know, to bring my game up, and that's what I've been doing. You know, I'm very happy to be doing it. I'm just trying to get me hand in wherever I can, you know, with sparring. Whoever are willing to help me, I'm happy to go and travel and do it. You know.
Absolutely, definitely. You mentioned your pro debut October the 8th at Doncaster Race. Of course, now I believe you was meant to fight in September this month, and it's been pushed back to October the 8th. Any frustrations in the pushback, or do you think it's going to help you?
Initially, when I found out, it was because I did a lot of hard training. But then once you see things in hindsight, you think, all right, I've got an extra 4 weeks. I'm going to really, you know, perhaps iron out things that I didn't do previously and get myself in absolute tip top, even better shape than for when I was for Blackpool. So no frustrations there. I'm happy with the extra couple of weeks it's given me to get better and better. And yeah, can't wait to show everyone on fight night now.
Absolutely. Talk to me a bit about your manager, Jimmy Harrington. It was off the advice of Tyson and Tommy that you guys linked up. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was Tyson. Jimmy was at the gym one day, brought some sparring over Tommy, and then he seen me train. And Tyson said to Jimmy, "Why don't you know, can you get Roman a couple of fights? Can you get my pro card?" And you know, we got talking and begun the process last year. We got the cards in the middle of this year, and yeah, we're getting fights now. The plan is I want to be out at least 3 times before the end of the year. I want to be really active because obviously I'm a late starter, you know, experience wise, and I'm 25, so I want to get as many fights as possible. So that's the plan. Be very, very active.
You mentioned there, I was going to ask you, the next question was, what is the plan? What is your route through now your career? So you mentioned there are 3 fights this year. So that'd be what, 1 fight a month, let's say, October, November, December. In terms of everyone gets into boxing to win titles and to reach the pinnacle, like your brother Tyson, you know, at the top of the tree there. For yourself, is that the goal? How long are you giving yourself? Do you have a timeline for you, what you would want?
I've not really been putting times on things, but that's the goal I want to be. Obviously, as you know, anybody who gets into boxing, whether they start late or not, they want to be a world champion, and that's exactly what I want to do. My ambitions are very high, and you know, I've got a lot to prove. You know, because there'll be a lot of people out there saying, "Well, he's not got the amateur background. He's started late. You know, what possibly can he do? You know, that's a very rare occurrence in it, but it's not impossible." And I've always liked, if I'm going to do things, I'm going to do things 100%. You know, so that's what I'm going to be doing. But there's no time wise on it. I'm going to see how I grow, how I progress, and when my boxing's at, and take it from there each fight.
I mentioned at the start of the call the Fury name and the pressure it could bring. You said there's no pressure on the name on your shoulders there. But in terms of carrying that name, we've seen with other fighters, for example, Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr., you know, these guys who do carry a surname that is big in boxing, they almost get a step up, a foot in the door earlier with big promoters, TV shows, etc. For yourself, you're starting on a small hall. Talk to me about why that's a benefit to you.
I think it's the right way to go in my career. You know, like you say, you can be thrown too far into the deep end, and you know, be put on these big bills straight away. And you know, you need. I'd like to get personally that little bit of experience on these small shows. You know, selling a few tickets, just to get the gist of it. You know, and see where I go from there. But you know, just because of the last name doesn't mean I'm going to be fighting on these big cars, does it? You know, you've got to earn your stripes, as you say. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
I just want to sort of flip that question a little bit in reverse and look at your brother Tommy. Tommy's obviously come into the sport with a big profile, and he went on to Love Island and even bigger profile now as well. Do you feel he gets unfair criticism for his opponents that he fights because he's still very raw and early on in his career? And let's be fair, a novice as well, because he didn't have a big amateur background either. Just because he's not doing it on a small hall, he's doing it in the public eye. Do you feel he gets unfair criticism?
Yeah, definitely. He's still somewhat of a novice, isn't he? He's had 7 pro fights, 12 amateur fights, so he's still learning all the time. A lot of people see him, because he's like in a similar position to Tyson fame wise, isn't he? But actual experience as in boxing wise, he's nowhere near yet. And people need to understand that any other boxer that has his record and that is at his level, he's not having these hard, tough fights yet. You've got to do your apprenticeship, haven't you? Um, but now he's going to start stepping up his opposition. He's training hard, so you just got to not let the comments get into his head, because there's a lot of people out there giving the comments because of his status and all, like, go and fight these world champions already. No, it's not about that. He's got to learn and do it right, hasn't he? Like everyone else.
Absolutely. I mentioned obviously he's on the big shows, big high profile events. It sounds like his next fight could well be on the undercard to Floyd Mayweather exhibition in Dubai. Again, another huge platform, possibly even the biggest that he has been on so far. Do you think, again, for him, marketing wise, is that only a positive?
Yeah, definitely. He needs to get on these shows, doesn't he? It's all good for bumping up his name and getting experience for these big events, isn't it? I know it's exhibition for Mayweather, but it's still going to be a big, big event in Dubai, and it'll be very good to get the experience of it. I think there's nothing bad that can come from it. I don't think.
I mentioned the unfair criticism that Tommy gets for his opponents. Tyson also gets his fair share of negativity. At the moment, he's getting a lot of unfair criticism in terms of the AJ fight slash Momo Char fight. In terms of that side of the sport with social media and the negativity and the trolls, have you had any advice from your brothers on that side of things, and how are you going to deal with that if that comes your way?
Yeah, you just got to block it out. I'm not going to go on Instagram looking at comments or messages or whatever else it is that's negative. I'm only going to look at the positives. Um, and just focus on what I can do. I think if you start, going down that road of what everyone else thinks about me, you're going to get it. You're going to let it get the better of you, and that's not the way forward. If you're going to be, any person in professional sport that's going to have the limelight on you, you've got to be mentally strong and just get on with your game. And everyone's going to have their opinion. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to love me. And just do whatever you can.
Absolutely. And I can't let you go without asking the big question. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, if it happens, when it happens, how do you see the outcome? Do you see any way for AJ to beat Tyson, or is Tyson just that Rubik's Cube that no one can solve?
Not for AJ, I can't see what he's got that's going to beat him. He's not going to knock him out because he's already fought the biggest puncher in boxing 3 times. And he's not going to outbox him, is he? Because Tyson's a superior boxer to any heavyweight, not just AJ. But fights are fights. Styles do make fights, and it's heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen. But for me, no, I can't. I can't see any way he can win.
Do you think it will happen, the fight?
Well, you've seen on his on his Instagram, haven't you? Lately, he said the deadline's done and no contract's been signed. So, if that's anything to go by, then no, he should have signed when he had the chance, shouldn't he?
Absolutely. Be a shame to miss out on that one. But Roman, I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. All the best of luck for next weekend for your pro debut. We will catch up again afterwards as well. See what it was like to be in the ring and getting your hand raised at the end of the bell as well.
Thank you very much. Cheers.